Today on Cosmic Disclosure, we're with former U.S. Marine Mike Herrera. Mike is a veteran with a distinguished service record. Today we discuss ET crafts and weapon systems. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Emery. I appreciate that.
What other things, Mike, have you learned about these craft?
Well, I do know that the real ones are seamless. They don't have any, manufactured sharp edges, if you will. Everything's smooth. It's just one solid piece. As far as the dimensions, they can range anywhere from 50 feet all the way to 400 feet. There's been a rumor that there's a 200-mile long craft floating outside of Saturn's rings right now. As a matter of fact, that was flown into our solar system and it's just on standby. Nobody knows what it is or what it's for.
I heard it might be on its way here.
It's possible.
Yes.
And if it is, that's what it's going to...
And that's been verified by many organizations.
Yes, it has, including this organization too.
So, what more could you tell us about that craft?
I just know it's in excess of 200 miles, and that's pretty
what I
damn
heard.
big.
Right, yeah. Moving under its own steam.
That's what they said.
The Admiral said. From what I have heard, that it is moving in a trajectory directly in connection with Earth at a very slow speed, that it should be arriving in the next 6 months. Have you heard anything like this?
I have heard that, especially within 6 months. And it kind of ties into what we've been trying to do with disclosure.
Right.
So maybe this is also something that where they're trying to figure out what we're doing per se. And then all of a sudden, if let's say, because of what's going on in the current world, maybe if we can't get a foothold on that, then all of a sudden they're going to do it themselves.
Let's get some soft disclosure going now.
Yes.
So we don't get caught with our pants down when these things come.
Exactly.
And we'll have to answer. They're going to have to answer to a lot of things.
Well, exactly. I mean, if you look in the night sky and see something that's 200 miles long and it's very massive, I mean, that's going to stick out like a sore thumb. The theory is too, if it's this big, is it going to throw any kind of forces against gravitational pull, maybe interfere with the Earth and the Moon if they get too close to that? I mean, there's so many theories because we've yet to see anything that big in comparison come close to Earth.
Right. Yeah. I can only assume that it's under its own gravitational density field, hopefully.
Yeah.
Because other things will get pulled into that.
That's exactly it.
I have not heard of anyone telling where it's from or the species or race. Have you heard of anything?
I have not heard of anything like that either. But I'm assuming that if you can make and engineer something that is in excess of 200 miles, you have to be pretty advanced to do that.
Now, I heard there's some teams assigned to that, and they were speculating that it's many races and species in a group effort coming for peace. Have you heard of anything like that?
I've not heard anything like that, but if that is the case, I hope that that's what it is, because that's gonna benefit us. We're gonna have a larger understanding, especially coming from Peaceful Initiative. It's gonna teach us so much. I mean, like I've said before, the best thing that we can do is learn about ourselves. And maybe we have the opportunity to learn about ourselves from a different perspective of beings that have been here a lot longer than we have. There's ancient civilizations throughout the Earth that seems like they've vanished without a trace. Maybe they have been enlightened enough to travel amongst the stars, and maybe they've occupied other planets. So that could be a possibility, and maybe these beings know that that's happened. It's just an interesting theory, but it could pave the way for us to have more enlightened knowledge towards each other as well, and maybe understand that, hey guys, warfare, conflict, greed, corruption, all this kind of stuff is not how you're going to elevate yourself as a species. But you're going to have peace, understanding, you're going to teach. Right. That's going to keep us on a good trajectory.
Have you heard of anything with the black teams being associated with facilities with the P3s on Mars?
I've never heard that. Okay. And I don't know. I mean, like I said, the way that these guys have technology, I only know of based off of Earth-based programs. And that's as far as I've been read into it.
Okay. Now, Mike, we've heard in the media and we've seen the Tic Tac videos. What do you think it is? Is this a black team situation? What's your opinion on this?
I don't think it's a black team situation. I think this is an aerospace company. I know where that Tic Tac's kept. It's definitely in California. And it's an interesting location as far as the entry points inside of that, because there's been some people who have been on that project who have came forward to our team that have talked about the specifics. They've handled it. There's also been locations on the East Coast where they've also housed similar Tic Tac shaped UFOs or reverse engineered craft. They obviously have seams. They have ridges. You can tell that they have, there's been pictures of some of them that look like they have external tanks on the sides of them. piping, things like that.
Antennas.
Correct.
Right.
Why would ETs need that if they could do that consciously? So that's obviously human application.
Yeah, there's definitely a distinguished, part of the reverse engineered and the seamless craft that are probably, made in space organically.
Correct. And, it's theory of materialization that they're at least that they can do this into one solid piece. That's how they suggest their uniforms or their clothing that they wear, because it doesn't have any zippers or anything that they could actually physically take it off or unbutton like how we do. It's just one solid piece.
Right, exactly. Now, I've known you've been read into the Tic Tac. Can you tell us the size of this craft?
So I know there's different variations of the Tic Tac, 50 feet, 100 feet in length, which is pretty massive, especially if you have a cylindrical object like that floating through that it's not susceptible to the forces of gravity or aerodynamics like a fighter jet would have to get lift, thrust, everything to vector the proper, flying in the wind like a helicopter would have to. I mean, it's suggested that these things actually have a propulsion system that puts a bubble around it like anti-gravity field using very high voltage systems. Because what I know how old the Tic Tac has been documented, it suggests this is probably an older system that they use very high voltage systems in order to incorporate that anti-gravity effect, where the occupants are not subject to the forces of gravity, the forces of inertia.
Were there occupants in this one, or is it type of a drone? Or
I understand that it's more people being occupants into this. I mean, I wouldn't rule it past these guys to put unmanned aerial vehicle technologies into stuff like this.
Oh,
and have
absolutely.
completely unmanned. It's a lot less risky because you don't have to read as much people in. There's not a lot of oversight. You're not subject to people if they're not feeling well, whatever it might be. So if it's unmanned and something happens to it, it's not going to cause any human life.
Do you believe that the corporation that owns this Tic Tac did this on purpose, or it was an accident that they got caught on camera?
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, people are videotaping anomalies every single day. Whether it's extraterrestrial, most of the time it's man-made. So I think with them, if I was a test pilot on something like this and all of a sudden I saw videos on YouTube about what I was flying, I kind of look what I did, you know what I mean? I'd say that, not that they're going to tell everybody that, but, I would suggest that they probably don't care.
Right.
It's just, if you call and report it or see that you saw this and there's no video evidence of it, it's just spur of the moment. The stigma is still strong with the subject, so people aren't going to be more receptive to that.